That's the one thing about our audience. They always want a new guy to break through the glass ceiling.
And all you have to do is just be real.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. I am the jabroni beating, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, talking is done, you're out of your class, no sleep till Brooklyn, The Rock whips your ass. Woo!
I wish you and King would quit talking.
Welcome to Around the Ring, episode 17 for today, Monday, May 4th, 2015. May the 4th be with you. Hope everyone had a great weekend. This is our first episode back from a bit of a hiatus. I took the last month off in an attempt to salvage a semester of online college I was trying to go through, and needless to say, that failed. And not happy about that, not proud of it, but yeah, you know what you gonna do. So the good news is I get to come back to talking about wrestling with you great folks each and every week, my faithful 40. So look forward to doing that going forward, and you can check us out every week on a variety of great places. First and foremost, United Podcast Network at unitedpodcast.weebly.com. We are one of many great wrestling shows on that network. Make sure to check it out, give them some love. Run by this great guy named Ryan, so definitely check it out. You can also hear us on K98talk.com, on the Spark Radio Network, and our specific little piece of the world there is the sparkradionetwork.com/around the ring OK. You can also hear us on our Spreaker channel and or on our homepage, aroundtheringok.wordpress.com. You can also get links to that Spreaker channel on there. Make sure to like us on the Facebook, facebook.com/aroundtheringok. You can give us a follow on Twitter at twitter.com/aroundtheringok. And also, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, anything you want to send our way, please do. The email address is aroundtheringok@gmail.com. If you haven't noticed, I tend to use the same little, username, or it's not a hashtag, what are those things called? Handle. Try to use the same handle for everything. Makes life simpler, at least on me. So, it's been kind of a weird time since post-WrestleMania. Not a whole hell of a lot has been going on wrestling-wise, at least not in the WWE. Some really cool stuff's been going down in Lucha Underground, and some pretty good stuff's going on in NXT. But really, this last few weeks, not a ton. Raw and SmackDown have been pretty forgettable, but there are a few things we're going to talk about. Before we get into that, though, last week, I think it was actually last Monday, we found out that Verne Gagne passed away. For those of you who don't know, Verne Gagne was a longtime pro wrestler. He was also most well known as the owner and promoter, head booker, and many-time champion of the American Wrestling Association, or the AWA, out of Minnesota. He was also a trainer and ran a very, very tough school out of somewhere in Minnesota. I can't remember the exact city. He trained the likes of Ric Flair, Ole Anderson, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and a number of I can't talk today. See, it's been a while since I've done this, so I might sound like crap. Please forgive me. Also, Kurt Hennig, if I'm not mistaken, was one of them. Kurt Hennig's dad, Larry the Axe Hennig, had a really long career in the AWA. Was very loyal. The AWA actually was a place that a lot of future major stars would come from. You really had the likes of Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Mean Gene Okerlund. All of those guys really kind of got their groove and started becoming stars in the AWA. And as legend has it, Vince McMahon came to Verne Gagne in the early 80s and said, "Hey, I want to buy you out," because he was on this kick about buying out the territories because he wanted to make his national organization. And Verne Gagne was like, "No, piss off." And so subsequently, Vince went in and bought out all of Verne's major talent: Andre, Hogan, Heenan, Mean Gene, and they all left and became, huge superstars in the WWE, or then the WWF. And it was, it was kind of a shitty thing to do. A lot of those guys didn't even give notice. McMahon plays it off with saying, we always want people to give a notice and work their final dates and blah, blah, blah. But Hogan didn't. Mean Gene didn't. I don't even think Andre did. They just left. Bobby Heenan's the only one who actually worked out his final dates. They left Hogan in a lurch. Hogan was to become the world champion. He actually had a match, I want to say it was with Nick Bockwinkel, won the title, and then it was stripped from him immediately, some ref reversal, and the crowd went just berserk when he won, because Hulkamania really started in the AWA. You can't give McMahon credit for Hulkamania, or Hulk Hogan, really. That was, in a lot of ways, that was a Verne Gagne creation. There's even a story that the hulking up came from Verne Gagne. Hogan said that Gagne gave him the idea for selling and then doing the shaking and hulking up and no selling, and so we can thank Verne for that. That may or may not be a good thing. But, Verne had an incredible career. He was a hell of an athlete. He was a collegiate wrestler. He was almost on the Olympic team. He had the opportunity to play pro football, decided to go with wrestling instead. He's legendary, and the WWE did do a good thing back in 2006. They inducted him into the WWE Hall of Fame, rightfully so, and also put together a really good documentary about the American Wrestling Association and its rise and fall. And it's very much worth watching. It's on the WWE Network. It's one of their older Beyond the Ring films, but it's certainly worth watching. Anyone who's a fan of wrestling history, this is one kind of like the rise and fall of World Championship Wrestling, the WCW documentary they did, also the World Class Championship Wrestling documentary that they did, and the World Class one kind of overlaps with the AWA, because toward the end, the AWA, World Class Championship Wrestling, and the Memphis group, which was C something W, I can't remember what it was called, but it was Jerry Lawler's and Jerry Jarrett's organization. They put together Super Brawl 3, and they did a few Super Brawls, but Super Brawl 3 was the last one, and that was the one where Lawler and Kerry Von Erich battled to unify the two world titles, which at that point the Memphis title and the AWA title had already been unified. Jerry Lawler won them, and so it was then to unify with the World Class title. Lawler ended up winning the match. It was a pretty bloody match, but I guess there were issues with money. Lawler ended up keeping the belt, never returned it. He still has it to this day, and eventually the AWA made a new belt. Some of their last champions included Larry Zbyszko, Kurt Hennig, Rick Martel, before he was the Model, was a champion in the 80s in AWA. Some other notable folks that came from the AWA during the 1980s, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, the Rockers, were in there. Now, they were... anyone who had a brain knew that they were a blatant ripoff of the Rock and Roll Express. And in fact, I think at one point they were even called the Midnight Rockers, so they were pulling from the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express. And but when they got to WWF, they were just the Rockers. But yeah, they came from the AWA. Kurt Hennig came from the AWA. Scott Hall was in the AWA, and when Scott Hall was in the AWA, he was actually a lot buffer, and he was called Big Scott Hall. He had a very Magnum TA mustache and haircut. And so the AWA did produce a lot of talent. And I remember when I first got into wrestling back in the 80s, I watched the AWA. That was, I'd watch any wrestling I could find. So I watched AWA, I watched WWE, I watched World Class, I watched the NWA, which eventually became WCW. But yeah, Verne Gagne will be missed, and his legacy is truly important to the history of professional wrestling. So, my thoughts and prayers go out to his family and friends. And so thank you, Verne, for everything you've done for the professional wrestling business. We as fans and appreciate it. And rest well. There's a nice squared circle up in the sky for you to go and beat the crap out of some people in. So have fun doing that. One of the other big things that happened this week is Stephanie McMahon appeared on the Live with Chris Jericho podcast on the WWE Network. It was Jericho's second podcast on the network. He's taking over from Stone Cold Steve Austin. Steve Austin did 2 podcasts, one with Vince McMahon and one with Triple H. And then Jericho was brought in, did the one with John Cena, and then did one this last week with Stephanie McMahon. They are extremely different styles of podcasts and different styles of interviews. Stone Cold goes in and will ask probing questions. He'll ask a lot of, almost controversial questions. He'll ask things that fans really want to know because he's a fan, and if you've ever listened to his show, he talks about wrestling the way other fans talk about wrestling. Jericho is very much a company man. He knows where his bread is buttered, and he's not going to do anything to rock the boat. That's not a bad thing. I mean, with Jericho, instead of feeling like it's an interview, you feel like you're sitting down with 2 people who've known each other for a long time and are having a conversation, telling old war stories. So with that, this interview was pretty boring overall. They talked a bit about the anti-bullying campaigns that they do, and Stephanie talked about how, she's not this evil bitch in real life. That's just her character that she plays. And they talked about her memories that she had growing up, told some stories about Andre the Giant, talked about working in the WWE, interning for her mom and her dad at different points. And then they even got into her whole boob job thing, and it was, for what it was interesting. There were no hard-hitting questions at all. There was absolutely nothing in there that really was anything other than ass-kissery, honestly. And even when the only even remotely controversial thing that was brought up is AJ Lee and the Give Divas a Chance movement thing, which AJ Lee was a big part of, and her tweets in response to Stephanie McMahon's support of Patricia Arquette after some award show a few months back were really all part of the whole Give Divas a Chance. And so bringing that up, but he did it in such a butt-kissing way that I just was almost dismissive of AJ Lee in the way he asked his question. So that sucked. So no one's ever going to call Chris Jericho a journalist, because he's clearly not. He does some good interviews in that you get a couple of people sitting with him. He obviously makes people comfortable. They talk. They have good conversations. They tell really good stories. From that standpoint, it was entertaining. If you're looking for anything hard-hitting, your SOL, because it sure as crap isn't happening on that show. I mean, I've heard him do on his actual show. I heard his interview with AJ Styles recently, and it was really good. The funny thing, though, about Jericho is he has talked about how he doesn't follow wrestling outside of the WWE. So he sometimes gets these non-WWE guys on a show, and he'll talk to them about their careers and everything. And sometimes I'll wonder, I'm like, well, if you don't follow the indies, how the hell are you going to know what AJ Styles or any of these other guys are up to? You're probably not, because you're not watching it. But, anyway, he gets them on. He has good interviews, and it'll be interesting to see who's next. I mean, you got the big 3 players, maybe Kevin Dunn, but I doubt that's going to happen. And God, just to see just the blowfest that would be is unreal. So I'd rather not see that, now that I think about it. So yeah, then the other real big thing that happened this week in WWE was the King of the Ring was brought back out of the middle of nowhere. It was like a freaking RKO. It's just on Monday Night Raw. Hey, we're going to do first round King of the Ring tournament matches, which was cool, but made you go, what? So they did that on Raw, and then it came down to a special on Tuesday night, which is exactly what they need to do with King of the Ring. I mean, that part was awesome. They did a live special. In a lot of ways, treated it almost like a pay-per-view. Tried to make it feel special. The biggest problem, though, is there was less than zero build-up for this thing. But it boiled down to a match. The semifinals were Bad News Barrett against R-Truth and Sheamus against Neville. And both were actually good matches. The Sheamus Neville match was quite good. Neville won after Dolph Ziggler came out and distracted Sheamus. He hit him with a wicked kick to the head and then the Red Arrow. Was very glad that Sheamus did not win this thing. And then Bad News Barrett had a match with R-Truth. R-Truth is a character. He just plays the wacky guy, and specifically the wacky black guy, unbelievably well. And he is a hoot. During the lead up to the ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania, he would come down to ringside during matches of other participants. He was hilarious. And in this King of the Ring thing, he kept talking about how he wants to outlaw spiders. And it was, you look at him and be like, what the hell are you talking about, dude? But it's funny. And I like it. And, he's a lot better than I used to think he was. He's not bad in the ring. He's really good on the mic. And he's got good sense of comedic timing and comedy. So, hey, good for Ron Killings. He had a match with Bad News Barrett, which he lost, and with a bull hammer out of nowhere. And then Barrett and Neville had a match that was really good. This is a rematch from Extreme Rules. During the pre-show in Extreme Rules, Barrett and Neville had an outstanding match that Neville won. And then, so we had just lost my train of thought there. So we had the rematch at the King of the Ring, really good match, and ended up Barrett won. And my first thought was I really was hoping Neville was going to win. I'm a big Adrian Neville fan. He is just phenomenal. But I can see why they gave it to Barrett. Barrett has had a lackluster career, mostly, in large part due to the fact that he's been plagued with injuries. But Barrett is great on the microphone. He's really good in the ring. He's got a good look. He still has a lot of potential. So this is a good way of trying to give him another chance. And I hope it's going to work. But a lot of people apparently have been upset because they feel like Adrian Neville is being buried in the main roster, which is another one of the things I wanted to talk about this week. Adrian Neville's run on the main roster so far. He comes in the day after WrestleMania, the Raw after WrestleMania, huge pops in that crowd, and has basically has a squash match against, I think it was Curtis Axel, and the following week has a match against Seth Rollins, which he lost. He's lost a handful of matches. He lost one to Sheamus, he's lost one to Bad News Barrett, and he's lost to Seth Rollins. All of the matches were extremely competitive, and in some cases there was cheating involved, if I remember correctly, to which he lost. This in no way, shape, or form is burying Adrian Neville. In all of these matches, he's gotten to show off his ability. The kind of narrative here is he is this rookie. He's new to the main roster. And this does bug me, that somehow the main roster is such a step above the talent in NXT or the talent in the Indies, which is effing sane. There are people right now on the indie circuit that are doing matches for 15 folks in like a bingo hall that have more talent in their pinky finger than guys like John Cena have in their entire body. So this whole idea that just because you're on the main roster means that you are a step above everyone else is ridiculous. Now, you can make the argument that the main eventers, they've got this extra experience and blah, blah, blah. So that's where an argument like seeing Adrian Neville go against a guy like Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins going over after a very competitive match, does not make Neville look weak. Also, Neville losing to a now heel Sheamus, who is nothing but a thug and a bully, who will cheat and do whatever he can to win, that is also not making him, buried. And barely losing a match to Bad News Barrett when he hit him with his finishing move out of the middle of nowhere is not getting buried. He's having extremely competitive matches, and what's really important here is the crowd's getting behind him. One of the problems with when new people come in having undefeated streaks is it makes the undefeated streak more important than the wrestler or the wrestler's ability to connect with an audience. We kind of saw this when Bo Dallas was defeated by R-Truth after he first came to the main roster, and it just let all of the air out of Bo Dallas's sails, which sucked because Bo Dallas is amazing, and he's been completely misused on the main roster in a lot of ways because I don't think that the folks booking the main roster have any idea what to do with this guy. Then you've got Rusev, who was built up. He had this, undefeated streak before he was finally beat by John Cena, even though he was pinned in a house show by Roman Reigns. But, hey, that didn't count. So often you get these guys who everything gets built into this undefeated streak. And it just makes it unrealistic. You're going to win and you're going to lose. If these were shoot fights, people are going to win and they're going to lose. They're going to have off nights and they're going to have good nights. And it makes it a whole lot better for Adrian Neville as a character and as a wrestler and his ability to connect with fans to show right off the bat that he is not Superman and that he is he's very talented but won't always win, and I think that's a good thing. I really say that the way he has been booked since he's come to the main roster is really, really good. The only bad thing they've done since he's come to the main roster is that stupid-ass cape. That thing needs to go away. Really, really dumb. Dumb. Stupid. As Randy Orton would say, stupid, stupid, stupid. That cape is just... But in the ring, you can't touch this guy. He is incredible. So yeah, people need not fear about Neville's future. He's got a bright future. The talent that this man has is unreal. And let's even think, worst case scenario, WWE fucks him up. He hangs out in WWE for a few years. They don't know what to do with him. He eventually gets released. Someplace like New Japan Pro Wrestling will pick him up like that. And next thing you know, he's going to be having 5-star matches with the likes of AJ Styles and those other guys from Japan whose names I sadly cannot pronounce. And it will be incredible. So, Neville's career is safe. They're not going to... They really can't screw this guy up too much, I don't think. He's just too freaking good. And speaking of guys who are too freaking good from NXT, there is a story that just came out today that says that it looks like Charlotte and Finn Balor may be coming up sometime around June to the main roster. Which is interesting considering Finn Balor recently in an interview said that a lot of the guys see NXT as the main roster now. And it's certainly where better storytelling happens. It'll be interesting to see how Finn Balor does on the main roster. Not as much how he does, but as how the booking deals with him. Because there's a number of guys who I really don't think the WWE can screw up. Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Adrian Neville. You put confidence behind these guys. I mean, Neville's the one who's going to have the hardest time because he's short and he's got these big ears. And that's right there. That's enough for old man McMahon to go, what the hell is this guy doing? He's got big ears and an accent. Finn Balor looks like he's a male model. The man is gorgeous. He will be fine. Sure, he's a little smaller than a lot of other guys. His ability in the ring will transcend. Sami Zayn is the ultimate babyface. Probably the only person in history that is more of the picture-perfect babyface than Sami Zayn was Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. So Sami Zayn is your underdog. He is your super babyface. And if Daniel Bryan's career is cut short because of injury, Sami Zayn can easily be put in there, fill that spot. And, I hate to say it, he could probably do Daniel Bryan better than Daniel Bryan can do Daniel Bryan. And I love Daniel Bryan. Big fan. Sami Zayn, he's something special. The other one is Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is this guy, his presence, sure, he's a chubby dude, but his presence, his intensity, his ability on the mic is bar none. I mean, you cannot beat it. So he will have no problems. So these four guys are going to be the future of this company. Someday they're going to come in at some point in the next couple of years, and it's going to be those guys, and I think Bray Wyatt, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, because we know how much of a hard-on Dunn and Vince have for the big Samoan. These are going to be the cream of the crop, the headlining guys for going forward. And with that being the case, I think we're going to be fine. It'll be interesting though to see when they come up. And Lord knows we use the talent oh god, I can't believe I said we. The WWE could use the talent on the main roster. I mean, it'll be sad when they leave NXT because they won't be in NXT anymore. But there's so many people out there, and in fact, something we're going to talk about here in just a second, there's so much talent out there in the indies that NXT can be filled up again quick, and it won't be an issue. There's more talent, I think, in wrestling now than there ever has been. Because you've got people who grew up watching some of the greatest wrestlers of all time, and they're just taking that and kicking it up 10 notches. One thing in non-WWE news, this week on Lucha Underground, another excellent episode, there was a title match for the Lucha Underground Championship with Prince Puma defending against Drago. Now, Drago won a best-of-5 series against Aerostar for a special... What did Dario Cueto call it? A special... a special opportunity. And the opportunity was a shot at the title, but if he loses, then he leaves Lucha Underground. The match was fantastic. They went back and forth, and then Hernandez, or I think it's his name, interfered. Ref didn't see it. Puma was conflicted, but eventually did what the Solid Monster is referred to as the Rikishi driver. It was a badass move, and won the match. Very sad, held up Drago's hand, and the episode ends with Drago walking out, looking at, staring holes into Dario Cueto and saying, you haven't seen the last of me, and then leaving in a ball of flames because he's a dragon. I will be sad if Drago never comes back. This guy is incredible, and he was one of the original, the first class of Lucha Underground. He was in, if I'm not mistaken, that first episode, one of the first ones, and he's just an incredible talent, so I hope we're going to see him again. A couple of other really good things. There was a 3-way match to determine, or a triple threat match to determine the number one contender, which was Cage against King Cuerno against Hernandez. It was a decent enough match. It kind of ended in an screw finish, and Hernandez won. So Hernandez is going to go against Prince Puma at some point in the future, and the conflict in that is that Hernandez has helped out Puma, and Hernandez is a Conan guy, and Puma definitely does not like the cheap, the shortcut way that Conan advocates for. So you're definitely seeing tension between Conan and Puma. I think Puma is eventually going to turn on Conan, or Conan more likely is going to turn on Puma. I'm guessing for Hernandez, and we'll have a split that way. Conan will go full blown heel, while Puma stays a babyface, and it'll sure be for some great matches. In my absence, when I was on the show's on hiatus, there was a phenomenal triple threat final match, elimination match for the Lucha Underground Trios, which is 6-man tag championship, and it came down to the winner was Son of Havoc, otherwise known as Mad Dog, Matt Cross, I think is his name, Ivelisse, and Angelico, and they won the elimination match. And then Cueto came out and said, okay, well, you have to fight someone else. Here's the crew. And it was a hell of a match. The highlight, Angelico was on top of the office area, which is kind of this almost balcony-like roof area, a good 20 feet at least above the ring. And Ivelisse is in the ring, and Son of Havoc is down, and 2 of the crew are in there, and this crazy MFer launched himself off of the top of this thing, came flying down, and took out the crew. It was insane. And Matt Stryker and Vampiro's reactions were incredible. They are a great duo doing the color commentary for the show. And it was one of the most insane things I've ever seen. I mean, it was one of those moments that it was almost as awe-inspiring as that first time when we saw Mankind go off the top of the Hell in the Cell cage. It was that crazy. But there were, in this week's episode of Lucha Underground, there was an interview segment with the 3 of them, with Vampiro, and they were just griping at each other. It was hilarious. So I can't wait to see these guys in action again. Unfortunately, Ivelisse has a broken ankle or something. Heel, I think it is. So she's got a cast on, but we'll see. I'm sure they will be defending soon. And if you're not watching Lucha Underground, you really need to. Lucha Underground is consistently, if not the best, tied for the best wrestling show on TV. I mean, it goes back and forth between NXT and Lucha Underground every week. But the last few weeks, Lucha Underground has really been the one. It's a fun show, it's a phenomenal show, and it's definitely one worth watching. Speaking of NXT, this last week's NXT was another good episode. It wasn't fantastic, but it was good. We had Becky Lynch was in a great match against somebody whose name I can't remember, and she has this really wicked armbar submission hold finisher that's fantastic. Cass and Enzo got another win, and they're going to be, they are the number 1 contenders for the tag titles. They are so much fun to watch. Enzo really isn't that good in the ring, but he more than makes up for it in his mic skills. And we're then also getting set up for a Bayley and Emma feud. Bayley lost to Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke is this fitness model who's come in and who her entrance to the ring and what she does in the ring after her matches, she does these gyrating poses that are supposed to be, hot and sexy and everything, and they're really not, because she does it for so long. Maybe a couple of them wouldn't be so bad, but it gets kind of creepy after a while. And it's like, honey, please stop. You're not on a pole. Please just stop. So yeah, that's NXT. Oh, also we've got coming up in a few weeks, there's the next NXT TakeOver special, which is going to be fantastic. The main event will be Kevin Owens defending the NXT Championship against Sami Zayn. That's going to be awesome. There's going to be a triple threat match for the number one contender, Finn Balor against Hideo Itami against Tyler Breeze. That potentially has match of the year written all over it. And there's something else will go on with the women's title. I'm not sure what it is yet. And they're also building up to a Baron Corbin Rhino feud, which will be pretty cool. I think Rhino's a great kind of guy to use to help build up and Baron Corbin and to put him over. So that'll be really good. I guess a couple final thoughts real quick before we head out of here for today. At Extreme Rules, we finally got Dean Ambrose a win on pay-per-view over Luke Harper in that street fight match, which was great that he got a win because the poor guy needs it. He also had this great moment on SmackDown. He had a match with Seth Rollins, and he did a great Tyler Breeze. He jumped up in the corner waiting for Rollins to come into the ring, and it was hilarious. I'm really hoping that they stop screwing around with Dean Ambrose and do something with him, because this guy is a hell of a talent, and we need more of that because he's really good. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the New Day. New Day. This feud they've got going on with Cesaro and Tyson Kidd is fantastic. Their match at Extreme Rules, New Day against Kidd and Cesaro, match of the night easily. They had a rematch on SmackDown, which was excellent, and ended with Xavier Woods interfering to allow New Day to keep the titles, which, sets up for another match in the future. So a couple of things. One, Tyson's Kidd and Cesaro, phenomenal. I mean, really, you could put them in there in a match against a pillow and a broomstick, and it could still be match of the year. Those two guys are that effing good. And the New Day becoming heels, especially Xavier Woods, because Xavier Woods is a really good ass, and he can come off as malicious. And I'm really waiting for that when he snaps and just goes full on a-hole, militant jerk. That's going to be fun, because he's the one really starting to take the shortcuts and everything. But the reaction to people chanting "New Day sucks," especially in Beat to the Claps. What's really awesome in these matches is there have been points both on the pay-per-view and in I guess Tyson Kidd and Big E, I think it was Big E, had a match on Raw, and then the rematch on SmackDown. There have been different times when Kidd and Cesaro have had one of the New Day in the corner, and they're stomping on them, but they're stomping in that beat that the New Day uses when they hit the ring mat, and that whole that New Day sucks beat. And so when they're stomping in that beat, it gets a crowd going, chanting "New Day sucks." And what's so funny is when they're clapping, and the crowd starts chanting "New Day sucks," and Xavier Wood looks like he's going to lose it. No, we don't! They start screaming, "No, we don't." So much fun. So I'm really looking forward to this feud. I think we can thank the post-WrestleMania crowd for saving the New Day and giving them second life, which they desperately needed, and those guys needed to be a heel faction anyway. We've also had a couple appearances of Bo Dallas this week, which have been awesome. Normally he gets his ass handed to him. He did have a match against Ryback on Monday, which Ryback won, and which ended with Bray Wyatt ended up coming out and attacking Ryback. So Ryback is going to be feuding with Bray Wyatt going forward for a while. Apparently that was a last-minute change. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that. I don't hate Ryback. I think he's actually pretty good. I'm not a huge fan, though, and I think Bray Wyatt is certainly better. But I think a feud between these guys could have potential, and it could do a lot to help bolster both of them. Bray Wyatt needs to win the feud. Ryback does not need to win it. He's over with the crowd like crazy. You can keep inserting him into the main event picture easily. He doesn't need this win, but Bray Wyatt does. If you excuse me, I need a sip of my icy. Sorry about that. But Bray Wyatt needs to win, especially coming after that loss to The Undertaker. I would really like to see Bray Wyatt go after Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, he's going to be in the main event at Payback. I don't think they're going to put the belt on him. I think Seth Rollins is going to hold on to it. For a lot of people complained about the Seth Rollins title run. I'm actually okay with it. I think he's doing the chicken shit thing a little too much. But I think he's doing a good job. And Roman Reigns, it's still not time for him yet to be in the main event, to be that guy. So I think what they need to do is keep the belt off of him, have him in this match, and maybe have... Well, here's what I would do. The way I would book things going at Payback. Bray Wyatt defeats Ryback. In the main event, the match is going on, lights go out. Say Roman Reigns is about to win the title. Lights go out. Bray Wyatt appears. Bray Wyatt takes out Roman Reigns. And takes him out of the ring. They fight. And the match ends up going between Rollins and Randy Orton. Seth Rollins eventually sneaks by a win, maybe a cheating win. Probably a cheating win. So you can either have Randy Orton still going after him, win a feud there, or that could cap off that feud. He can go to someone else, and then we could have a nice, maybe through SummerSlam feud with Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns. And I think that would be good. That would be good for both of them. Again, though, I think that's something that Bray Wyatt needs to win. Because he has not been booked as well as Roman Reigns has. But people also need to see other sides of Roman Reigns, and he does not need to be booked like John Cena, which, even though the match he had, that last man standing match in Extreme Rules, was really good, surprisingly good. He was really booked like John Cena. It was a lot of Supermaning, and they don't need to do that with him. They need to let him be him. And one of the reasons why I think he got over so well in The Shield is he was just this kind of silent badass in The Shield. And that's the way they need to book him. The Shield was over, he was over, not because he was being forced down people's throats, but because people loved his work. People loved The Shield's work, and I think that could... there's something WWE needs to learn from that, and they need to go back. Let Reigns have some feuds with some other people. He doesn't need to be really in the world title mix. I'd say until sometime next year. Hell, I wouldn't even put him in the main event in WrestleMania. I would maybe have him win it at SummerSlam next year. That would be a good spot. It's one of the big pay-per-views, but he doesn't even have to win it at one of the major pay-per-views. He could win it. Who knows? I mean, maybe he could win Money in the Bank, and then he could cash in at some point. And actually, if you were going to have him win in WrestleMania, a great, nice little turnaround would be him to win Money in the Bank this year. Keep the belt on Seth Rollins until WrestleMania next year. And then have him cash in and beat Rollins for the title at WrestleMania. That would be a nice little, FU. So we could see that. That would be kind of that, just thinking here off the cuff. So one last thing before we get out of here, there was this great little story / list over on, where did I find that on? It was on Ringside News this morning. And it has a list of 5 independent wrestlers they would like to see, or that they think would be successful in the WWE. It's a pretty good little list, so let's go over this. The first person they have on their list is Cedric Alexander. I could not agree more. One of my favorite matches of last year was Cedric Alexander against AJ Styles. It was some random PWG or XWL, or I forget which. I found it on freaking YouTube, and it was phenomenal. Cedric Alexander is working in Ring of Honor right now, and he has so much talent, and he is so good. I would love to see him get signed by the WWE, because, I mean, they need the talent, and they certainly need the black talent. And this guy, he's a high flyer, he's great on the mic, he is just solid all the way around. Next on the list, they have Johnny Gargano. This is a guy, I have to admit, I don't know. He was in Dragon Gate USA, and I unfortunately have never watched Dragon Gate. I know it's a promotion I need to check out, but I have not had a chance to watch it. So I know nothing about this guy, so we're just going to go ahead and skip him. Next is the Briscoe brothers. Now, these guys have just re-signed to Ring of Honor. Huge deal. And apparently some of what went down with that, they were given this offer from WWE for NXT, a pretty standard developmental offer. They went to Ring of Honor and said, hey, this is what they've offered us. Ring of Honor made them a better deal. They went back to WWE and said, hey, can you match or beat this? WWE said no, and they said, okay, well, we're going to stay where we are. Jay Briscoe is the world champion there. Mark Briscoe has been multiple tag team champions with his brother. These guys are fantastic, and as much as I would love to see them in WWE, I think Ring of Honor is going to be their home, and it's nice to see guys out there that are basically telling WWE, hey, we don't need you. We can make a living doing this somewhere else. Next up is on the list, the Young Bucks. These guys are one of the best tag teams out there. They're in New Japan Pro Wrestling. They're in Ring of Honor. They're phenomenal. Now, the story is being told are that there was interest in WWE for them, and they turned WWE down. So, that's saying something. Again, these are guys that are going out there. They're killing it. They don't really need WWE. Not when they can kill it in New Japan. Not when they can kill it in Ring of Honor and other indies. But they've got the charisma, they've got everything to come in and kind of really be a new generation's answer to the Hardy Boys and to Edge and Christian. So yeah, I'd love to see him in WWE because Lord knows that tag division needs some more blood. Can you imagine though the Young Bucks against Cesaro and Tyson Kidd? Holy crap, that would be awesome. And then finally, Adam Cole, baby. Adam Cole is definitely a guy I could see in WWE. Adam Cole is something special. He is a great talker. He's great in the ring. So, yeah, I guess there's been talk of him heading to WWE. We'll see. He's been the Ring of Honor World Champion. He's been the Ring of Honor TV Champion. He's just fantastic. So, of this list, I would really, four of these folks, because one of them I don't know, but the other four I think all could do well in WWE. The Briscoes, I think, would have the biggest challenge just because they're so rednecky, and I don't know if WWE would know what to do with them. Adam Cole is just built to be a superstar. The Young Bucks are built to be superstars, and same with Cedric Alexander. I think all those folks, all those guys could do really, really well. But we'll see. The only couple other things. Miz talked like a jackass this week in some interviews. I'm not going to get into it because I've been talking for about 50 minutes, which is longer than I thought I'd end up going today. But, hey, that's going to be it for Around the Ring for this week. I appreciate you guys listening. Don't forget to check out our homepage, aroundtheringok.wordpress.com. Check out United Podcast Network at unitedpodcast.weebly.com. And hit us up on the Facebook and the Twitter. Facebook.com/AroundTheRingOK, and at AroundTheRingOK on for the tweets. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, comments, or anything, shoot me an email at aroundtheringok@gmail.com. And we're out of here. Hope everyone has a great week. And as Jerry Springer used to always say, take care of yourselves and each other.
You've been listening to Around the Ring on the Spark Radio Network.
All you have to do is change your point of view and believe.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. Bam! Woo!
This sucks more than anything that I've ever sucked before.
What? It's for charity.